Hey, hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What's going on? Welcome to our second edition of Digital for Everyone. Just waiting for our co-host to join us today. Hope everybody had a good week. It's been an intense one over here. Hey, Ryan, L3 Creative, Scarlett, Steph, Telemark, Babash Media Group. What's going on, man? So tonight, we are talking to Rachael Espinet. She's going to talk to us a bit about philosophies in communication, which I think is really, really important. You know, yes, I do have pants on, Babash. I think it's really important in terms of what Ian spoke about last week, where design is very important, and design is not just art. Hey, Rachael, welcome. I see you're in the Hogwarts library.
Yes, it's literally my favorite thing in the world.
Okay. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what we did last week. So for those of you who were with us last week, Ian Reid spoke about design and what that means in terms of the digital world. And it really segued nicely into, design is not just, what your brand looks like. It is, but it also is, how your product and service and experience is designed. And that's something that's very important, which segues really nicely into what Rachael is here to talk about. Oh, okay. Hi guys, are you hearing me better now? Yeah, apparently I have iffy service. Okay, so I just went on to Digicel's regular service, so that should be fine. Instead of using.
Why don't me?
So where did you lose me? Where did you lose me, guys? Let's start this back over. Where did you lose me?
Okay, so you were introducing me on the philosophies that I use in my digital or in my communication period.
Right. Yes. So essentially, Rachel's a special writer at TNT Newsday and specialist writer. Sorry, she's not a special. She is a special writer and a specialist writer. So Rachael, I mean, I think I'm going to hand it over to you now. I think I want to let you get into your philosophies of communication and kind of what that means for you. Guys, if you have any questions, any comments, just put them there, and we'll get to them as we can. So over to you.
Okay, ready? Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah. So I am a specialist writer, which is basically a fancy way of saying I enjoy writing essays for the people. And something that I love doing is finding topics that are important to us right now and really looking at the different dimensions of it, be it the scientific, the human, the artistic perspectives. And which, quite frankly, I think everything all goes into one. So the first thing, firstly, and I cannot say this enough, like I am so not accustomed to being the one on the other side because I'm always the interviewer. So I'm
Yeah.
always the one accustomed to sitting down and going, all right, please tell me what you think. And that to me is the most important part of communication, which is active listening. And
Right.
so whenever I'm interviewing someone, like I have the urge right now to pull Robert and interview him and go, all right, so please tell me how you planned to do this program, because why do you think it's important to you? And it's like the energy you give off is the energy you get back.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Right?
I hear you.
So when we are trying to do our plans, our strategies, our whatever, and as I say that, my body cringes because I always see a strategy and a plan as something that it comes from my head and I'm telling you what to do and I'm not hearing what you want or what the people want. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, God, Robert, you really aren't giving me anything back.
I'm listening to you.
I'm to you right now.
Okay, talk to me.
Yeah? Come on, Robert, we got to talk right now
Yeah.
because this is to me
Right.
the art of communication, actually connecting with somebody.
Right.
And we got to be able
Okay.
to hear what the people say, feel what it is that they're feeling in order to be able to communicate it properly. Like the reason why I jumped out of my bed one day to write you a random ass message on the things that I want to say was because I was sitting down at meditating and trying to meditate on
Right.
YouTube, and a digital ad popped up, and it literally
Okay.
scared me.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
You were
So
telling me
it's
about
an
this. Yes.
ad by a financial institution that's saying it's a scary time right now. We're so afraid. Things are going on and it's bad and it's bad and it's bad. And I'm sitting down there
Right.
trying to find some calm in this chaos. And my heart starts to pound like, what the hell?
So communication for you, it really changes your emotion, you know, depending on what they say and how they say it. It changes your how easy, how comfortable you feel in the situation, even if you're paying attention to it or not. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because subliminally,
Right.
communication always hits you. Like our perception of communication is we say one thing and people think that they're hearing it, but the
Right.
reality is we communicate in many different ways. Our facial expressions, our body language, our tone of voice, which is why I always say WhatsApp is the absolute worst way to talk to anybody, especially
Correct.
if you're trying to hook up with anybody. Worst way. I'm just like throwing it out there as this is what I wish people would know, because you need to be able to connect with people, and connection
Yeah.
means emotions. Like something that's been
I'll-
distracting me right now is
Mhm.
the mask, is the social distancing. It's like necessary, but
It's
we
necessary,
are
but it does remove a lot of the cues that you would take from a regular conversation. So,
exactly. Because the
yeah.
conversation is all about energy. It's all about I give to you, but you also have to give back to me. It's a feedback.
Right.
So then we have
And
to ask ourselves, if we're communicating digitally, how are we giving energy to people and what feedback are we getting from them? So if I'm trying
right.
to calm myself, is it the really best thing to lead with fear?
True. Justin is saying that's why we need to use more emojis. Do you think that that's going to help how we communicate with our customers and clients and right? Do you think if that ad for, you know, we're in a scary time used more smiley faces, it would be a different energy?
No. I think would really help people.
What's
3 deep
that?
breaths before they even try to write something.
Okay.
I'm
So
not even
right from a calm space. Okay.
Yeah, like another ad that I saw that was from a different financial institution. It was quite
Mhm.
beautiful. They were saying we're all in this together, and it took this time for us to realize that we need to slow down. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to be able to
Mhm.
care for the environment. And we're seeing the impact, what we are doing to others, how it is affecting them.
Okay.
Completely different tone, completely different energy. And
Yeah.
I was happy and appreciative of that post. And I actually the first one that I was listening to, I don't even remember what that ad was. Like, it so upset me viscerally. And like, literally all of digital communication is meant to actually hack your emotion. Like, if you ever want to find out how deeply that is, read Chris Wiley's Mindfuck, and it will give the full scary philosophy or psychology of how they use different emotions to push people to behave.
Yeah. So I think you had mentioned in your outline that you're going to cover five sort of philosophies. So this first one really can lean, if just correct me if I'm wrong, but it leans on the idea that you need to be responsible about the energy and emotion that you elicit from your communication.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Not only is it, is it, as you said, is the person that's reading this or seeing this or hearing this ad picking up what we really want to put down? Maybe that ad was meant to reassure you, but it ended up scaring you. And
exactly.
Right. Okay. Okay. I feel that.
We're literally living in a time where we are terrified. We are not sure what's going on. And I'm doing the exact same thing that I told people not to do, which is elicit fear. But there's also nothing wrong with saying your emotions. Like, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And uncertainty is so damn scary. We have financial problems that are existing, looming, and we don't even know what's going to come. We have mental health fallout that is coming. Like, I felt so low today just because I realized the first time in months, I'm really lonely. I haven't seen all the people who I interact and communicate with every day, and we are actually genuinely lonely right now because we're in self-isolation. Humans are social animals. We the first system, sensory system that develops in the womb is the touch system.
Interesting. I did not know that. Okay.
As soon as a baby is born, the 3 months of that period with the primary caregiver, usually the mother, but I like to use primary caregiver, that attachment actually helps a child, and that leads up all the way into adulthood. If you have anxious attachment, avoidance attachment, inconsistent attachment, or a secure attachment, like if you are in tune with your parents and caregiver. So touch is such an important thing in life. Estelle Perel, a great relationship psychotherapist, she talks about how the mother language is body language, and how when you because for the first 18 months of your life you're not talking, and you have to communicate with your caregiver in some way, and all of that is.
I think babies just cry until they get what they need, but
the part.
So I'm glad that you brought up these sort of I would call them truths about human beings and how we react to stimuli and stuff like that. And the second point that you had brought up was factfulness. I think that also lends a lot to the uncertainty. Can you talk to me a bit about that? Because all this fake news and stuff like that, nobody knows what to believe. There's a lot of fear going around.
I'm putting the tables on you. I have some questions for you that I want you to answer. Okay?
Talk to me.
So this comes from the it's called the factfulness quiz. Factfulness, the first 3 topics that I mentioned are actually books. Books that I have not been able to shut up about since I've been reading about them. I really need a shirt that says "Warning: read a new book."
Okay, I got you. No problem.
Okay.
So those of you who have just joined us, I'm about to be interviewed apparently instead of doing the interview. So
that's what you get when you ask the journalist to, be on your show.
Serves me right. Go on. Talk to me.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So in all low-income countries across the world today, how many girls finish primary school education? 20%, 40%, or 60%?
All girls all over the world? Or what was the parameter?
All girls all over the world. 20, 40, or 60?
I imagine it's a low amount, maybe 20%. Okay. Are you writing my answers down into the Scantron?
Trust me, I'm taking. See, this is why I wanted a proper draft rehearsal, but I couldn't ask you the questions, so I'll sort of surprise you. But it's just to get the computer. In the last 20
Sure.
years, the proportion of the world's population living in extreme poverty has almost doubled, A, remained more or less the same, or almost halved.
It's definitely almost halved, but I only know that because I scroll through like random Reddit subreddits like science news and good news and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely reduced. I'm no slouch over here.
Very good. What is the life expectancy of the world today? 50 years, 60 years, or 70 years?
I'd say 70 years, but it keeps going up.
Okay, good.
Okay.
There are 2 billion children in the world today, aged 0 to 15 years old. How many children will there be in year 2100, according to the United Nations? 4 billion, 3 billion, or 2 billion?
There are how many right now?
There are 2 billion children.
I think, I don't know. I'm trying to weigh the options between, I know that there are declining birth rates in 2 billion then, 2 billion.
Okay. The UN predicts that by 2100, the world population will have increased by another 4 billion people. What is the main reason? There will be more children aged below 15. There will be more adults aged 15 to 74, or there will be more very old people aged 75 and over.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if the population is going to increase, it's going to be by 2021, you said?
Yeah.
It's going to be children. It'll have to be. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that we're going to have more babies being born.
That's the only way you get more people. Okay.
How did the number of deaths per year from natural disaster change over the last 100 years? More than doubled, remained about the same, decreased to less than half. You'll have to answer to her.
Oh, sorry?
I'm just telling everyone at home you all can answer to.
Yeah, Justin, come on. Help us out. 10 zillion. Yes, Reed is going to import more old people from Mars. It's got to have reduced by at least half because it's just, there's so much more safety things, I guess. Homes are built better. Okay.
How many of the world's 1-year-old children today have been vaccinated against some diseases?
This is just a free-form answer question.
Okay, no, sorry, my bad. 20%, 50%, or 80%?
I would say 80%. I think the anti-vaxxer movement is still isolated to idiots.
People who don't understand what real suffering is.
Something
Worldwide,
like that.
30 men have spent 10 years in school. On average, how many years have women on the same age spent in school? 9 years, 6 years, or 3 years?
Sorry, I missed the first half of that. Say that again.
Okay. Worldwide, 30-year-old men have spent 10 years in school on average. How many years have women on the same age spent in school?
Okay.
9 years, 6 years, or 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
I don't know.
In 1996, tigers, giant pandas, and black rhinos were all listed as endangered. How many of these 3 species are more critically endangered today? 2 of them, 1 of them, or none of them?
What were the 3 again? There were tigers, rhinos.
Tigers, giant pandas, and black rhinos.
One of them is critically endangered, I think.
Okay.
So what do I win? What do I win? Like, hold on. How many more questions are there?
How many people in the world have some access to electricity? 20%, 50%, or 80%?
50%?
Okay. So this factfulness question, I left out a few.
Okay.
Most people get 42%.
Wrong? As in like... Sorry,
Yeah, like
42% out of. Okay.
yeah, I'll tell you which ones. I'll tell you the answers to which ones you got right and wrong.
Okay.
All right, yeah. In all low-income countries, world today, how many girls finish primary school? You were right, 60.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the majority of the world's population live? Did you answer that one?
No.
No. Oh, this is the most important one. Low-income countries, middle-income countries, or high-income countries. Majority of the world's population.
Middle income.
Yes!
No.
You actually
Wait,
know a
yes.
lot about the world. I'm so proud of you.
I try to have an open world view. So, okay.
Yeah, the whole point of this quiz was to show that most people, they have an unrealistic view of the world. Like the average person who answers this quiz gets about 42% right because they actually think that the world is worse off than it actually is. Because we
Okay.
have
That's
systems
that's
like the
due to
UN.
communication.
Yeah, and it's because people haven't traveled enough. They've like
Mm-hmm.
news in itself, and I cannot state this enough. Please, my editors, don't be listening. News only reports a lot of bad news. Like, cover your ears, editors. So
Okay.
good news hardly makes news, and good news is also really slow. So we
Right.
have an idea that the world is much worse off than it actually is. The question that you answered about girls being educated, it's actually
Mm-hmm.
9. Like men have 10 years
Okay.
education, women have 9. And there was a huge push to be able to have women more educated because that actually reduces children and mortality. Like less
Okay.
infants have died in the past 100 years because they've ramped up things like if women are educated, they know how to read medicine, they know how to take care of their children better. Like if the
Mm-hmm.
more woman is educated, the fewer children she will have. So the average woman will have 2 children.
Zabukaman says you're spilling all the tea right now. So
Hi,
in terms of let's say a brand or a company trying to use factfulness in their communication, what does that mean? Understanding that most people will get 42%, right? You know, how do you kind of craft that into a message?
that's a good question. So let's go back to art of communication.
Right.
In 3D.
Mm-hmm. Sure, no problem. Deep breath.
There's a thing called the urgency response. That the book called Factfulness is 10 reasons why the way we think the world is actually wrong and how things are actually a lot better. It's by Hans Rosling.
Okay.
He was the former head of the World Health who has dealt with a lot of pandemics and a lot of crises. And he said one of the things that we tend to do is first panic and secondly fall into an urgency complex where we must be to respond. And in digital media, it's always a sense of urgency, like you always have to be responsive. And that is the way the algorithms are designed. It's designed to get us anxious and get us rolling on responding. Like going back to Chris Wiley's book, he talks about how like people use things like fear, panic, and outrage to be able to push a post far. Which is why normal thinking people never saw half the shit that the Cambridge Analytica propaganda people were, because they wouldn't be the ones to be outraged. But you're sending.
So like clickbait and stuff like that. Clickbait articles, viral.
If you're a brand, you gotta be responsible and not have clickbait.
Okay.
If you're a brand, you gotta be responsible and acknowledge that. Back to the first thing that I'm saying, the emotions that you put out. Things that you put out. Like if you want to be quick and your first response is fear, then you're going to terrify people. Which is why I think like that ad that I was talking about came out a few weeks prior to the second one I talked about. And I don't know if whatever sense of calm they used or if somebody was just a little bit more zen, a little bit more spliff, like whatever they did, but they approached it calmly. And in factfulness, fact check. Only checked reliable sources. And the thing is that fact takes time. We have so much information out there and so much being spilled out. Like something that I had to remind someone is with all the information that's coming out in the pandemic, it's like literally you hear something about a new drug and then a journalist or a blogger or a tweeter, they just hear it, they roll with it, the powders, and they just go with it. And then people get mixed up in it. And like science takes time. Like I was telling a doctor friend of that, it's like when we talk about research, people think, you know, you're just going to Google. But no, research takes years. Like the type of research that's going to take to be able to fully understand the coronavirus situation will happen much longer than coronavirus even did in existence. And it's
For sure. I agree with that.
Like it takes time. So we also have to acknowledge that we cannot be too hasty in what we're doing because we don't know what the future is going to have.
Yeah.
But we
Rachel,
we don't know.
In terms of your point three, the philosophy of the power of vulnerability, I think I actually like how factfulness kind of moves into that when you're talking about, you know, not necessarily rushing to respond. At least in my limited understanding of it is that, you know, give yourself a minute to think about the problem and then address it and stuff like that. So power of vulnerability, can you know, because we don't have a ton of time left. So let's get into that, that thought process. You know, what is vulnerability in this aspect? You say it's tapping into creativity, but tell me a bit about that.
Well, vulnerability gets you to be creative. Like there is no source of creativity that doesn't come from a vulnerable space. Like if you are hard up, armored, and afraid to even say the creative thing that's in your heart, then you can't be vulnerable. You can't be able to produce the thing that you need to. The power of vulnerability is an audio lecture that I've listened to a million times by Brene Brown. She has like about 6 or 7 books that I've also listened to a million times. But that's the one I go to whenever I feel down. And right now we're all in a vulnerable space where we are, as I said earlier, uncertain about the future, terrified. Like what's going to happen with crime? What's going to happen with our healthcare system? Can we go outside? Can we hug our mothers? Like if I hug Granny, will she die? Like these are scary things.
Stop feeding the panic.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I told you I was in a little bit of a downer today. But the reason why I say these things is because we need to also be able to acknowledge and tap into the fact that we're human. Like, we're human and we are 100% allowed to feel. But a lot of times in society, feelings aren't exactly appreciated. Like you don't appreciate the person who is crying. You don't appreciate the person who is upset. And it's like we have an empathy problem where we can't see that this person is in pain and we don't know how to connect with them. And the reality is, in every single brand, everybody's in pain right now in a different way. And we need to be able to tap into our own vulnerabilities to be able to connect with them. We need to tap into the feeling that, like, this is what I need. Like, I literally wrote a two-part series on the science of stress. And then my body was like, you are feeling lonely. Allow yourself to feel this. Right?
Interesting. So just, I mean, I like the idea of the power. I like the idea of the power of vulnerability, you know, understanding that, I mean, it's always bringing it back to the brand, you know, understanding that the people that represent your brand and you know, you are only human to output the product or service, and that the person who is receiving your product or service is only human as well and has their own things going on, lives their own whole world.
Something I see a lot in corporate brands is that like corporate has such a hardcore fear of allowing themselves to look vulnerable, to look soft, to be open and exposed. It's like we don't want to get attacked, we want to get assaulted. But going back to the first thing of active listening, if your people are attacking your post, that's because there's something that they're trying to communicate to you that is probably not right happening. So you need to be open to receive it. Like I've seen brands that hide posts. I've seen brands that get vexed. There are brands that blow up at their consumer. And it's like, that's not active listening. That's not, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm trying to do something to be able to help you get through what's going on.
For sure. I agree with that. I see that, you know, you see that all the time with the different brands, either an overreaction or an underreaction just because they want to maintain this sort of we are perfect and there's not, as if there's not a
Nobody's
human on
perfect.
both ends of the screen.
Exactly. Like nobody's perfect.
So,
No one is perfect. And perfection is
yeah,
actually a source of cheat. Because if we
yeah,
put up this veneer of I am perfect, then nobody can actually judge us from behind. But
yeah.
everybody's messy. It's human.
So let's dive into point 4. The fool is the best person to tell the truth. Let's dig into that a little bit.
Okay, so
Because by that logic, I would be the best person to tell the truth a lot of the time.
well, it's how you tell it, huh? The thing
Okay.
that I really appreciate about a well-placed meme, a well-done joke is you have
Okay.
just enough of the truth to make a person think, but it's still funny enough to blow the hoot. So I got
Okay.
the fool from it's a concept from Shakespeare. The fool is always the one who is able to tell the king you're on shit and you're doing shit, but you're making the king laugh, but you're telling the king you're dotish.
So it's more of a, yeah, it's very much a how you package the message is massively important. I like that.
If you
I like that.
are I also don't be afraid to be silly because emotions like joy and laughter is such a powerful emotion. And again, you can't get joy and laughter if you don't tap into your vulnerability. Because like joy is actually one of the most vulnerable emotions because it's like you're on a high and you are so afraid of actually being hurt by this thing.
Is that me or is that you breaking up there?
You there?
Sorry, it skipped a bit. Justin Buselet is actually adding it. He says some of the best comedians drop the biggest truth bombs. Yeah, I would agree. Dave Chappelle regularly puts things into perspective. So I know we're running out of time. So let's just quickly kind of deal with absurdism. That the idea that nothing really matters. That seems kind of defeatist after you started on such a high about being positive.
I know, right?
So tell me a bit about that.
I love that nothing really matters. Like you can pull that concept from different ideas. Like with stoicism, if you drop to your lowest level, you can still always climb your way up. Like absurdism comes from my favorite philosopher Albert Camus, where he talks about Sisyphus who rules the a boulder up a hill forever, and at some point in time he has to find joy and happiness, and that's the point. Like we're going through an emotion right now. We've been going through emotions since time immemorial. You die, you live. That's life. And the best part is that you put meaning into it. And that's why it's absurd. That's why it's funny. Because there are a lot of things in life that make no sense. Coronavirus kind of makes no sense to us. But that's nature, right? Like it happens. This is absurd.
Yeah.
And this entire thing that's going on right now is absurd.
Definitely.
I actually like to see it as hope.
So Rachel, thank you.
And like, why is there a reason or why is there a purpose? Then you might tie yourself up and get depressed. Or why is this happening if this is not supposed to? You know? I like the idea there's meaninglessness. You can frolic there.
For sure. Rachel, thank you very much for your time today. It was very, very interesting. We went all over the map, a lot further than I thought we were gonna go. So guys, I think Rachel's gonna drop in. She's gonna message me the books that she's referencing, these 5 philosophies that she uses in communication. Just to recap for anybody who joined late, the art of communication, how to manage emotions while writing and not create panic, which is something that we see a lot of ads doing recently, talking about unprecedented times and, trying to be like, we'll all get through this together. But it's very dramatic. Factfulness, understanding that not all people look at the world the same way. So how they receive your message is going to be important and different from person to person. The power of vulnerability, tapping into creativity, understanding that, at the end of the day, there's 2 people behind this screen or behind, that are interfacing with your brand or you as a person. And understanding that you have to risk something, you have to put yourself out there to gain something. I had a client who refused to go on Facebook because they were like, no, we're going to get so many negative reviews. It's going to be a gong show. We're going to hate it, and we're just going to be the worst Facebook page ever. And they launched And yeah, they get complaints like any quick service restaurant will, but they deal with it and they have a growing and a lovely fan base that is very, very engaged. The fourth point would be the fool, which is the best person to tell the truth. We reference it sort of like delivery of the message. As Rachel well put, the fool is the person who delivers the bad news to the king because he's able to make the sting not hurt so bad. To find out
the king, not just bad news, raw truth. Tells the king.
The raw truth.
Don't wear any clothes for the man. The king laughs.
Justin Busele is saying Facebook is crap. Okay. The opinions shared on Digital for Everyone do not necessarily represent us. And then absurdism, the idea that nothing really matters in terms of. Actually, you're going to have to go over that one again. I've been going over it.
Much longer thing
Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to share.
It doesn't make sense. So just roll with it.
Yeah.
It's absurd. Life is absurd. It's beautiful.
Gotcha. So what Rachel's going to do, Rachel's going to send us the books that she referenced in these 5 philosophies she follows in communication. We're going to share it on our Instagram stories and our feed. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. This was a lot of fun. Next week, guys, we are going to have Quincy Ross with some very interesting takes on how you use digital communication and as a platform, as a channel, and how it's looked at versus traditional. Quincy's a very opinionated guy. I know most of you listening may know him, and he promises to bring some very, very contentious topics to bear next week. So, Rachel, thank you. And good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.